Yo guys, welcome in. We're gonna go through today all of my settings for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Hopefully then you can take something on board then and put that into your own settings and get better settings, better FPS, better all sorts of stuff, you know what I mean? Worth sticking around. So I ain't gonna dilly dally too much, let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so jumping into the settings. The first category we're gonna be looking at is gonna be the controller settings. And for that, yes, you guessed it, I played on controller. I don't play keyboard and mouse because that just breaks my head. Sorry. So yeah, I always play controller. I'm gonna go through my controller settings so you can kind of get a feel of how I play. Some people's might be different, some people's might be the same, but this should give you tips on basically getting the best out of your settings. So let's start with the sensitivity. Now I rock 6 and 6. A lot of people out there would rock a little bit lower. Some may rock all the way up to extreme and beyond. But yeah, no, 6 and 6 for me work pretty well. Gives me the sort of accuracy I need with my sensitivity. So basically, to help with coordination, I like to go into a custom lobby full of bots. I then put my stick sensitivity all the way up to about 12, 13, maybe even 14. I turn off my ABS and then I run and kill a load of bots. That will help with my centering, and it usually does help with my hand-eye coordination when I'm starting to play. If you know what I mean, if I want to really sweat out that. So yeah, but for general play, I like to keep it just on a 6.6. That helps me a lot. ADS stick sensitivity as well. I like to keep these just the same. I think these are the default settings for both of these. Sometimes if I'm sniping and my aim's all over the place, I might stick this down a little bit. But in general, I like to keep it at 1-on-1 and just go from there. Most of my other controller settings are pretty much default. Button layouts default to play with. I don't flip the triggers and my bumpers, because I have trigger stops on my controller, so that helps a lot. Watch this space because adaptive digital triggers are coming. Don't you worry. I don't touch that. Again, I don't touch that. And I always turn off controller vibration. Okay, with the gameplay sort of subcategory we've got. Target assist, enable it, get every little help you can get. I keep the aim assist mode standard because looking into the other options, the legacy, the precision, and the focusing, it can get quite confusing, and I don't really see much benefit. Although, from what I can gather, legacy is another go-to aim assist mode that everyone uses, but I like to keep it on standard just because it's usually the standard all the way around on all of Call of Duty games. ADS aim assist, yes please, I want some of that. Airborne mantle behavior, keep it automatic, save you having to having to spam the jump button a load of times. End down sight behavior, hold like any other Call of Duty game you may have played. Armor behavior, this is fairly new to the Call of Duty scene. So basically you get armor plates in Fireteam and on Warzone. Now you can obviously apply one at a time, so you press the button and it apply one single armor plate at a time, or you can have it apply all your armor plates you're going to need, which is obviously advised, saves you having to stand there spamming Y for God knows how long. Again, I'll keep this standard. Your advanced settings in the controller category, I'll keep the stick layout default. Your thresholds are something you may want to look into. They help a lot with stick drift, so you may want to look at your min inputs for each one of your sticks. If you're getting a little bit of stick drift, just lower that down to just higher that, up until a point where you're not getting stick drift basically. I leave everything else disabled, I think. Sprint behavior, this go-to setting is the most common setting because, well, if you read it, it says press the sprint, pressing again won't do anything, but then you release it and obviously you will stop moving forward. So it's just a kind of a standard setting that everyone's used to within Call of Duty. Sprint cancels reload, I enabled this just because it helps with my sort of time, and I can quickly turn on someone if I've got a couple in my magazine, and helps with, yeah, just a little bit of multiplayer action and then more than anything. Auto deploy parachute always on. Equipment behavior hold, and interact and reload behavior. This is a big one for me. I've put it on prioritize interact. When you play the game like zombies now, especially, there's so much loot to pick up on the floor that your gun might accidentally start reloading when you want to pick it up. And given the time, you may need to like prioritize certain things over the other when it comes to reloading and interacting with things. So you play about with these, but I definitely either would suggest put it on prioritize reload or prioritize interact, whichever one you prefer. Right, moving on to the movement sorts of settings I'm going to be talking about. It's going to be all into to do with your interface. So it's what you see on the screen is going to help you, give you that little edge upon other people. First thing I'm going to look at is going to be subtitles. Turn them straight off. You don't need that excess sort of visual noise all over the place from things you don't care about. Skip the intro movie just because once you've seen it once, you don't need to see it again. Your HUD bounds, I like to keep this as centered as possible, just because then in theory it keeps your eyes as centered as possible, without excessively having to move your eyesight more than it needs to, if that makes sense. Yeah, your HUD elements, your crosshairs, I'm basically just going to skip all the talking, show everything. Yep, all of this, show all of this. Full names, yep, I have some of that. Zombies name and health bars. We don't care about zombies' names because zombies don't really have names, so I just show well away, but yeah, I don't really get that. Your telemetries, that's personal preference. For me, obviously, this is a PC we're talking about with this setting. This just shows me the stuff at the top of the screen. So if you have a look, you can see it says FPS at the moment. It could be the GPU, CPU, etc. If you want to see them whilst you're playing the game, but I'd like to see my FPS just so I can see what sort of frames I'm getting. So next we're going to talk about the graphics section and hopefully try to get you guys as much frames per second out of your consoles, PC preferably, as possible. For consoles, there's not much we can do here, to be honest, so you may want to skip through to the next section about audio. But for now, this is mainly focused at the PCs, but please, console players, stick around because you might learn a thing or two which might help with your own sort of settings and setups and whatever. I must point out as well, as you know, on this point, I am a streamer, so my settings are going to be very different to some other people's. So yeah, my display mode is a windowed full screen just because I've got two monitors and I like to flip between both of them, but that doesn't really, I don't lose out on much FPS from that, from what I've seen anyway. Again, my refresh rate is 144 Hz, which is obviously dependent on your own monitors or whatever. Disable VSync, always do that. Normal reflex latency. Again, you want to keep your render resolution to 100. If you have it too high or too low, it can mess your actual what you're seeing, if that makes sense. I don't really play about with this at all, so I don't really know what happens if you do play about with that, but all I know is don't play about with that. Display resolution, make sure that is obviously what is coming through your monitor. Aspect ratio, keep that automatic. Now, a lot of people are on about colorblind modes, and you can mess about with this as much as you want, so you can choose which enemy color you want. You can have it as yellow, orange, blue. I keep everything literally as it's been every other Call of Duty. If I'm honest, I don't really play about with this because I don't find any issues with the whole sort of seeing people from a distance or anything like that too much. Other people might. It's up to you. You play about with that as much as you want. I think that's personal preference for everyone. I'm going to pop right in here and say that if you've liked this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment, do all of that mad stuff. Very muchly appreciated. Next, we're going to look at field of view. Now, this slider here is brand new for the console players. They've never had a field of view on a Call of Duty game before, so here you go. This is one new setting for you guys to play about with. I think the default setting for this is on 80. Yeah, so that is, yeah, the default setting for that is 80. I like to boost mine all the way up to 105. 105 may sound stupidly high, like your stick sensitivity, imagine, but it really isn't. It just actually gives you the field of view that I think everyone imagines to play with. But you notice that 80 feels a lot more scoped in. Although that may help with some ADS, you're still losing out on your peripheral vision. So keep that in mind as well. When you do higher your field of view, your ADS is still affected the same, although it feels like it's smaller. It isn't smaller. The only difference is you're scoped out more. That's the only difference. So it isn't, your ADS isn't bigger or smaller, sorry. It's you're just scoped out more. That's the only difference in it. Keep your field of view affected for both of them. If you have it independent, it scales it in as well, so I can't really explain it properly, but if you might want to play about with this, and you see what I mean. But yeah, again, you have a little play with it, and yeah, see what suits you. Brightness, I like to turn this up fairly high, although it says not visible and whatever the Call of Duty requires. Keep it high, you'll see a hell of a lot more if you keep it high. That's all I can say about it. I don't need to say any more than that, but it won't feel like it's all washed out either too much. It will just feel like everything's brighter, you can actually see. Okay, I've got a custom frame limit. Obviously this is for my PC, so everyone's PC may be a bit different. I think at this point I'm going to point out that I'm going to leave all of my specs for my PC in the description below, so feel free to click on them. I'll have links for all sorts of stuff down there. Bear in mind, I like to use this as a gaming / streaming sort of setup, so my settings are going to be specifically for gaming and streaming. So my frame rate is 145 because I can't get no more than that. Texture qualities and your model qualities, these are personal preference, and that I need to put these up just because me playing the game and streaming recordings and stuff like that, I need a fairly amount of detail, so I've got to put these up. But for help with your FPS, you want to drop these right down. HD game textures and models. If you see your game a little bit laggy and a bit not just clear enough, this may be what you're missing. 4K interfaces, I haven't got 4K enabled, so I can't use this. Special effects quality, I like that high. Again, this is specifically for streaming. The stuff I'll be going on just to get the most out of your FPS, I'll let you know as well, but most things I will be turning off. So all of this I'll be turning low or off if possible, just to gain the most FPS out of your system as possible. Ray tracing is something to keep off, definitely. That, and also motion blur, and yeah, any sort of motion blur you want to disable that, definitely them. And ray tracing, they're key elements to turn off. The rest is, again, it's individual. It's down to personal preference, basically, for most of the visual sort of settings, scale down to your visuals. But kind of rule of thumb is, if you want your game looking all pretty and nice, you can turn whatever you want on just to give that little bit of colours. In doing that, you're going to sacrifice some frame rates. But if you want to get the most out of your game and the most frames possibly, turn everything off or low or disable, as much as possible, just to give your VRAM as much usage as possible. Okay, so next up we're going to talk about the audio settings. Again, this is going to be just because I'm a streamer, I'm kind of setting this up so I stream as well as that. I'll go for a few things that you should make sure that you kind of take into account with your own sort of settings. So first things first, music I turn down just because it's a bit of a distraction whilst playing in game. Again, with the cinematic volume and the dialogue volume, they can become distracting, but sometimes you may need to get that dialogue volume, so I don't turn it all the way off. Keep sound effects volumes on just so you can hear things within the game that you definitely need to take aware of, kind of things, bombs going off, for example, and whatnot. The audio preset I use is bass boost. Now I've noticed that I get to hear a hell of a lot more footsteps from enemies with bass boost. Get in the comments and tell me which is your best audio preset. Again, hit mark as I enable this. Everything else is pretty much standard, although some of these settings here are obviously going to be each to their own, like your headset and your voice, your microphone, etc. are all going to be different. Your voice and text chat channels, though, you might want to kind of keep an eye on these. If you're in an open lobby in like a public game, and you can't hear anyone, it might be because you might have yours set to party chat. So you might want to comment here and set it to game chat, and vice versa. If you're in a party, you can't hear anyone, it might be because you've got yours set to game chat, so you might want to switch them up. Okay, so lastly, we're just going to look at some of the GeForce experience settings you can do. Very quick and simple. People have got a lot of issues where the game might crash, etc., etc. And this may be a big problem. This may be the big solution that you're looking for. So basically, go onto your, if you've got an Nvidia graphics card, that is, go over to your GeForce experience, double click on it, where it says your drivers. Now, not a lot of people know this, but you've got two different drivers for your Nvidia. You've got your game ready driver and you've got your studio driver. I use both because I use a lot of stuff for my creative apps, as it says there. But you want to make sure your game ready driver is selected, and then you just want to check for updates and basically update it as much as possible. That might have a lot of other issues you might be having with your game crashing or graphics running through, etc., etc. But yeah, that's the solution you may be looking for right there. So yeah. Right, so to finish up today, I'm just going to go through some of the GeForce sort of settings you're going to want. And then I'll go through some other little settings you want to kind of get on top of to make sure you're getting the best of the best out of your game. First things first, you're going to want to kind of go onto game filters, and you're going to want to put a game filter on here. It's that simple. You're going to put a couple on here. First one you're going to want to put on is going to be the sharpen. Second one you're going to put on is going to be the brightness and contrast. And the third one you're gonna want to put on is going to be your color one. Okay, now we'll start with the sharpen. Very easy. Turn film grain off. First things first, always turn film grain off. And then sharpen, you're going to want to just bring this up a tiny bit, not much. Around about 60 or something like that, 70 maybe. That looks quite good to me. After you've done that, you're going to come into brightness. Leave everything the same, just turn shadows down a little bit. And that should just help you see a bit further back. And now colour. We're going to turn colour down, intensity down, temperature we're going to leave 0, and vibrance we're just going to bring up quite a bit. As you can see, this is a game with what I've put on. This is the washed up game after. Just makes everything pop a little bit better, helps you going to see a bit more. So basically they're all the settings we're going to go through today. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all of that funky stuff, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.